Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. After 3 consecutive matches away from home, Manchester City are finally back at the Etihad. That fortress, the impenetrable castle that is the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City take on Wolves, a Wolves side that do have a little bit of flow to them. I like the way they play. Gary Neal has got them playing some good football. Not so much as of late, really, in truth, but over the course of the season they find themselves in 11th. They're not a bad outfit. They're not a bad outfit at all, but being at the Etihad just calms me a little bit in a particular match and the rest of the season. Let's get it straight. The rest of the season now is just going to be nerves jangling all over the place because we're in that squeaky bum business end of the season now, aren't we? So it's, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about it, but like I said, being at the Etihad calms those nerves a little bit because if we avoid defeat against Wolves, we will beat a club record, 2 club records in fact, because one that's tied to the Etihad, to our home ground. If we go undefeated against Wolves, that will be 43 games unbeaten, beating the record that was set back in 1919 to 1921. An unbelievable record, and this club has no history, they say. We need to build a bloody library. We need to build... Oh, that's what the internet's for, really, isn't it? We don't need a library. That's what the internet's for. What am I talking about? What century is this? What century is this? And the other club record is, over the course of all competitions, home and away, 31 games unbeaten. We are right now, as of right now. And if we avoid defeat against Wolves, that will be another club record, breaking the record of 31, reaching 32 games unbeaten. Again, more history, more records being broken. But like I said, this Wolves side, they're going to cause problems. They've got a potential setup that I'll get onto shortly that we saw very similar to how Nottingham Forest set up with regards to wing-backs in particular. They operate quite aggressively with their wing-backs on the counter-attack with 3 at the back. We saw Forest do exactly the same, of which Nuno Espirito Santo employed those full-backs with Nico Williams and Aina running down each wing. It was Nico Williams came off in the first half, and it was Montiel who came on at right wing-back for Nottingham Forest in our 2-0 victory. But we're going to see something similar, probably with Ryan Aït-Nouri if he passes that late fitness test, and Matt Doherty running those wing-backs. And it caused problems for City because outside of our 3 centre-backs at the back, we don't have any protection outside Gvardiol or Akanji, whoever it's going to be, probably Kyle Walker in this game, as the right-sided centre-back and the left-sided centre-back of the back 3. We were stretched at times against Forest to the point where crosses were coming in from either side, and at one point, one wing-back crossing to the other wing-back to create that Chris Wood golden opportunity that they completely fluffed, thankfully. So we need to be very mindful of the similar sort of setup that Forest presented. That I imagine Wolves will also present Manchester City, but Wolves hadn't won in 7 games before they beat Luton 2-1 at the Molineux Stadium. Prior to that, no wins in 7. So that's what I'm saying about Gary O'Neill. He has dipped as of late, a little bit of form. They've struggled lately. But over the course of the season, they've had big slices of luck, as far as I'm concerned. As a Manchester City fan, I remember a very big slice of luck. Hwang Hee-chan should have absolutely been sent off in the reverse fixture at the Molineux Stadium, which we lost. But they've also had a lot of VAR decisions go horribly, horribly wrong and against them, tragically wrong. And I mean, it's just a continuation of the whole PGOMOL. It sounds like the alphabet, LMNOP, like, do you know what I mean? It's like trying to speak to a 6-year-old and reiterate the alphabet back to them. PGMOL. So that organisation has been a shit show, and Wolves have definitely been on the receiving end of some poor decisions. But I think it's going to be a fascinating watch. Of course, Manchester City play second after Arsenal. Arsenal play first in the game week of this particular week. Home to Wolves, Arsenal are. And again, that's a fixture that I'm not convinced Arsenal have that wrapped up, because I think most people were drawn to the Spurs away game. Now City fans are now looking at the United game, Arsenal versus United at Old Trafford. But I actually think this Bournemouth game is equally a problem for Arsenal, because I think Arsenal's home form hasn't been quite as solid as their away form has, in recent games at least. Anyway, you look at the Aston Villa game, they were well off it, Arsenal. Well off it. And I think this could be a potential banana skin for Arsenal. I expect them to win, But there's a little part of me thinking there's a potential problem there for Arsenal because Bournemouth are playing well, scoring goals and winning matches in the process. So Arsenal will be going up against a pretty confident Bournemouth side, but you fully expect them to beat them nonetheless. And I mean, if they don't, if they drop points, it's almost game over. If we go and do the business against Wolves, it's virtually there, aren't we? So that's how tight things are at this stage of the season, and Arsenal will be all too well aware of that, and that pressure, their home fans, a little bit of toxicity can creep in at the Emirates here and there, especially if they go 1-0 down or it's 0-0 with very little time to go. Their fans are quick to turn on that Arsenal side, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle the task of beating Bournemouth. But City, we just forget that. As the players, anyway. The fans, we're entitled to talk about it as much as we want, but let's get it straight. The team needs to forget about it, get on with the job in hand, which is beating Wolves. Team news. City's team news. Ederson, he was pictured training, which is great news, which basically means we've got a fully fit squad because I expect Foden and Ruben Diaz, who were both ill against Nottingham Forest. I imagine they're back to full fitness. They were pictured in training as well, so they must be back to full fitness. And congratulations to Phil Foden, by the way, Football Writers Footballer of the Year. 24 goals and 10 assists. 34 goal contributions from Stockport Iniesta. Felipe Foden. What a little gem he is. What an absolute superstar. What a potential Ballon d'Or candidate. I think the fact that if we win the league and the Euros will come into it as well, but Bellingham's dipped off lately. That's a whole other question. So get in the comments below if you think, take your City hat off as well when you do it. Let's try and be unbiased about it. Who's going to win the Ballon d'Or this year? Because the candidates aren't quite as good as last year, as far as I'm concerned. But still, Phil Foden is up there. He's up there. And he's already picking up awards in the process with that Writers Footballer of the Year award, which is brilliant. Wolves team news. Long-term absentees have always been Craig Dawson and Leon Chiwome, which is disappointing news for Wolves because he's an England under-18 player. Made his Premier League debut this season. Good little player. Picked up a long-term injury. So he'll be out. Late fitness tests for Noah Lemina, which is Mario Lemina's brother. Santiago Bueno, which always gets me a little bit peckish for a Kinder Bueno. He's facing a late fitness test. Whether he would have made it into the team to begin with, I'm not too sure. But Ryan Aït-Nouri is one that would likely feature at left wing back. He too faces a late fitness test. He's someone who, on his day, he's a creative, attacking, potent threat that can cause any side problems. He can go missing, defensively wanders a little bit. But going forward, he's a problem. If he plays down that left-hand side, I think they could have a very strong counter-attacking option through Ryan Aït-Nouri if he is fit. And the other one is Belgade, who also faces a late fitness test. And Pedro Neto, that's one player that I wanted to leave to the end because that is great news because he's on the cusp of returning. Apparently it's too soon, this match, because Pedro Neto is capable of tearing any teams apart. I'd arguably say City should be looking at a player of this quality. Pedro Neto is absolutely quality. First-class player, man. Like, what a player he is. I can't see him being at Wolves next season. Put it that way. I imagine Wolves will be cashing in big time for Pedro Neto in the summer, but we'll see if that's to be the case or not. But he's not going to be playing against Manchester City, which is great news. Now, predicted starting 11. Let's start with Wolves. Jose Sarr in between the sticks, in the bags. I'm going to go with Ryan Aït-Nouri at left wing back, assuming that he is fit. Nelson Semedo at right-sided centre back with Max Kilman in the middle, and Totti Gomez, who scored the winner against Luton in the last game week. He'll have a bit of confidence about him. And Matt Doherty, who isn't quite the same threat as Ryan Aït-Nouri going forward down that right wing-back side of the pitch, but offers more of a defensive-minded mindset. You know, he's someone who's a little bit more tuned into the defensive side of the game, who'll likely tuck in alongside and create it real difficult channels to appear down that left-hand side. I feel City will have more success going down Wolves' left side, our right-hand side, and creating gaps between Totti Gomez and Ryan Aït-Nouri. Mario Lemina in front of the back three, back five, whatever you want to call it, alongside Boubacar Traoré. Love that name. Boubacar Traoré. And João Gomez alongside him. And then the big, powerful threat of Matheus Cunha, which I think is someone why I think John Stones needs to play alongside Rodri in this game. So there's a little giveaway, spoiler alert. I'm going to be putting John Stones and Rodri in because of him. Because I think he poses, he's such a pest. He's a big physical pest. Technically able, he's a well-rounded player. I'm a big fan of Matheus Cunha. And I mean, Hwang Hee-chan is not short of muscles. You know, he's not a weakling himself. There's a big, powerful physical presence Wolves have as a spearhead to those front two, with Cunha propping up Hwang Hee-chan. They complement each other really well. So I think there's a threat there. So Hwang Hee-chan up front. Manchester City, I'm going to stick with Ortega. Although Ederson's been pictured in training, I see no reason anymore to be dropping Ortega in, just purely out of recent form. I thought Ortega came on against Nottingham Forest, was solid as a rock, and I think Ederson was a bit ropey in that first half. He did pick up an injury. That may be his excuse, but he was seen flapping at a couple of crosses. He came out and dropped one. So those moments like that, we can't afford that. And Ortega fills me with a little bit more assurances that he's got safer hands than Ederson, but probably doesn't have quite as safer feet as Ederson does. But I'm going to stick with Ortega. Kyle Walker, right-sided centre-back. Ruben Diaz is back from illness in the middle with, I'm going to go with Gvardiol, left-sided centre-back who scored the goal. He's scoring in very important goals as of late, so we could do with another one of those, please, Josko. That would be nice, but we need to see a solid defensive performance as well from him, just as much as we do want to see him going forward. And in front of them, John Stones, alongside the big man, Rodri, and then Kevin De Bruyne in midfield, centrally with Phil Foden. And out wide on the right, I'm going to go with Bernardo Silva. On the left, I'm going to go with Jack Grealish, and up front, Erling Haaland, which puts Alvarez on the bench a little bit harsh because he scored the goal against Brighton, then he didn't play his greatest game against Forest. Haaland then came onto the pitch and did the business, scored a wonderful goal, lovely assist from Kevin De Bruyne. I'm going to go with Haaland. I'd say that's our strongest team right now. You know, I'd say, I mean, Ortega and Ederson's 50-50 for me, but outside of the goalkeeper, I'd say that is our strongest team right now. And a team that I feel should be beating Wolves. It's the 5:30 kickoff as well. I will be doing a watch long, so come and join me for that. It's just those wing backs. We've got to be careful of those wing backs and the counter-attacking potency. Ryan Aït-Nouri coming down that left-hand side. We need to be so careful of what he's going to be doing down that left-hand side. But I'm going to go 3-0 Manchester City. What's your predictions? Get them in the comments below. I want to hear them. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silverware.